Today, we're doing a really deep dive into the ramp in your commander decks, which ones to play, their roles, and how many. Because that's a lot of information, here's a TLDR. To design a good ramp package, we want to pick a target and deliver on that target. It'll make sense, trust me. First, let's cover the most important concept of ramp: time. Let's put up this chart again with time and mana. If we hit our land drops every turn, then turn 1 we have 1 mana, turn 2 we have 2 mana, and so on. By playing a Llanowar Elves on turn 1, you now have access to 3 mana on turn 2, essentially skipping turn 2 completely and putting you 1 turn ahead on each opponent. And if you have a turn 1 Sol Ring, you're basically from the future. So ramping is accelerating you in time and giving you access to cards ahead of schedule. So what? We all know ramping and big spells are good. While having more mana is always preferred, there are key turns that are more crucial to your deck than others. A fundamental turn, as you could call it. A fundamental turn, as defined by Zvi Mowshowitz in the early 2000s, refers to when a deck wins the game or becomes unfair. The fundamental turn dictates how we play, like when it's time to set up, when to hold up interaction, or when to seize victory. But unique to Commander is there are 4 fundamental turns at the table. This creates a greater meta fundamental turn. If every deck sitting at the table is playing Zero Rocks and Rituals, then you must also meet this pace. It's not really your decision. So going back to our original question, why does time matter here? You need to build your ramp to hit the right timing of your deck's fundamental turn and not fall behind the table's pace. And this is our target. In most cases, the target is your commander. In some cases, like CDH, there are cards that we really want to target, like Ad Nauseam, where you structure your deck to hit 5 mana easily and early. But your target could also be most of your threats sitting on your curve at the 4 or 5 mana range. Okay, so we found the target, now we deliver on the target. For delivery, there's 2 parts: what to deliver with and how much. So let's begin with what. There's an easy rule to follow. Focus on ramp cards with mana value 2 less than the mana value of your target. I'll use commanders as the example. For 1 to 2 mana value commanders, you don't need to add any ramp for them. If you really need to cast a 2 mana value commander on turn 1, then you'll need 0 mana value rocks. While I say this, usually your low mana value commanders have a larger curve, so you still need ramp to cast those cards, but not your commander. For 3 mana value commanders, 1 mana value ramp is ideal. Cards like Llanowar Elves or Utopia Sprawl lets you play your 3 mana commanders on turn 2. And this is where mana dorks really shine. In general, the weakness of dorks is that they can't tap for mana immediately, but they can synergize with a creature strategy or find value like sacrificing them to a Skull Clamp later. Creature mana also suffers from exposure to mass creature removal and board wipes. Having a third or even half of your ramp suite be dorks would maximize your chances of casting 3 mana spells on turn 2. We'll cover this more in depth later in this video. 4 mana commanders is the sweet spot for 2 mana value ramp to cast your 4 mana commanders on turn 3. This includes rocks like Arcane Signet, your Guild Signets, Talismans, or spells like Rampant Growth or Nature's Lore. At this range, you could also look into untappers like Kiora's Follower. Untappers can add mana by untapping lands with the potential to scale better once you have better targets. At 5 or more mana commanders, you'll want a mix of 2 mana and 3 mana ramp. Cards like Worn Power Stone or Relic of Legends becomes much more attractive here. This is also the range where you can start to consider rituals even more. Higher mana value rocks are great here if your deck wants to play expensive spells turn after turn. Mana rocks like Worn Power Stone also helps pay for commander tax during the game. And while we're covering all the basic food groups of mana acceleration, there's a couple more less common types I want to highlight. Reducers like Medallions are a form of pseudo-ramp. They scale much better if your deck wants to cast more spells during a turn than less. There are also mana doublers, cards like Mana Reflection, Boundless Realms, or Mirari's Wake. They're expensive game-ending ramp that puts you into critical mass. I would consider these to be more game plan cards rather than ramp cards in the way we need ramp to put us ahead of curve. Now we covered the types of ramp we have and where to put them, let's combine everything and figure out the number behind how much ramp to play. In 2022 on deckstats.net, a user called Aetherium Slinky calculated for the best combinations of lands to ramp. They look for the best probability of drawing a keepable hand. They define a keepable hand as any of these combinations: 2 lands and 1 ramp spell, 2 lands and 2 ramp spells, 3 lands, or 3 lands and 1 ramp spell. They also considered the London Mulligan with a 3 mulligans max. The link to this original post is in the description box below. Based on their work, the sweet spot is 12 ramp spells, 36 lands, for 89% chance success. But there's one other concept I'd like to introduce to refine this magic number of 12 ramp spells: the hot garbage model. The hot garbage model by EDH Power Level addresses one of the biggest issues of ramp. Ramp is great when it puts you ahead, but ramp is awful when you don't get to draw a land and all you did was spend mana to stay on pace. And in some hands, you might not even be able to cast a ramp. Hot garbage. This model calculates the chances of when ramp will hit these scenarios, and based on their chart, at 36 lands, 1 mana ramp is hot garbage 22% of the time, while 2 mana ramp is hot garbage 38% of the time, and 3 mana ramp is hot garbage 54% of the time. So a 40% rate for 2 mana value ramp means that in almost half your games, they're worse than a land. So what does this mean for our 12 ramp recommendation? It means we really just can't cut lands. It also means that 2 mana value ramp with 36 lands is less efficient than 1 mana ramp, which is just a good note to track. Because while we look at numbers, we still have to remember the context that 1 mana dorks kinda suck and 2 mana talismans are way better. So back to our 12 ramp package. Let's lay out 12 slots and start designing this. Sol Ring takes the first spot, which leaves us with 11 slots. Since there's a lot of configurations of how you could design your ramp package, I'm going to focus on a general model as a guide. I also won't include any zero rocks for budget and game changer limit reasons. Anytime you want to play a zero rock, you reduce the package by a slot, since they're almost always better than anything else. The best 1 mana dorks are Birds of Paradise, Delighted Halfling, Deathrite Shaman, Noble Hierarch, and Ignoble Hierarch. Depending on your color access, playing 3 dorks gives you 45% likelihood to hit a turn 2 commander in 3 moles. And if you're playing all 6, you have a 71% likelihood to mulligan into a hand to cast a 3 mana commander on turn 2. So if you need to play something like a Selvala on turn 2, you would need to play other dorks or zero rocks to make it more consistent, rather than just playing the 3 good green dorks. And if you think back earlier on this video, the emphasis on playing a 3 mana commander on turn 2 really matters for you to decide to play 1 mana dorks or enchantments. But for everyone else, for 2 mana value ramp spells, there are 5 colorless 2 mana rocks I would consider optimal: Arcane Signet, Fellwar Stone, Thought Vessel, and Mind Stone. And as soon as we gain access to the guild signets or talismans, we can replace the Vessel and Mind Stone. If you have access to green, I will also add Ramping Growth, Nature's Lore, and Farseek, since they help with color fixing and deck thinning. If you don't have access to green, you could also play Fractured Power Stone, Liquid Metal Torque, and Prismatic Lens. This leaves us 3 more slots within our package, which I would spend on 3 mana rocks. They could synergize with the rest of your deck, like a Pristine Talisman for a Life Gain Matters deck. They could come with extra effects like Curse Mirror or Misleading Signpost, or you can play a 3 mana rock that helps pay with bigger costs or commander attacks like my favorite Warm Power Stone. Keep in mind that for expensive ramp spells, we don't have the same urgency and need to play them at high frequencies like 1 or 2 mana rocks, since we do have a few turns to draw them rather than needing to open the game with them in our hand. With 3 slots for this type of big mana ramp, the chances of us drawing it within 10 cards is 27%. If we want something more consistent, because your deck is a X-Spells Matters decks, or just has a more expensive curve, playing 7 of these cards will give our deck a 50% chance of seeing it within 10 cards. But just keep in mind the hot garbage model. You can also fill the flex slots with rituals, But if velocity is important, then you can adopt a CDH model and play around 6 ritual cards along with your ramp package. So here's our baseline guide for an optimal ramp package for you to tweak and personalize. The most important part about designing a ramp package is understanding the strategy behind your deck and tailoring these slots to support your deck's needs. All the research is in the description box below for you to dig into and follow up on. If you like this video, please consider subscribing on Patreon to support creating more videos like this. This video is also part of the Commander Template series, where we're doing a deep dive into each part of a Commander deck to create a better place to start building Commander decks. In the next video, we're going to be combining draw, our land count, and also ramp all together. So if I didn't include anything about draw spells impacting the number of our ramp and our lands, that's coming next. Let me know what your favorite rock is in the comment section below. Thanks for watching! Because someone in CDH told me the less lands you play, the more legitimate and smart of a player you are. And you know what? That just makes total sense to me. But let's talk about the hot garbage model. Oh, you'd know about hot garbage because all your decks are 100% hot garbage. Oh. Well, I'm going to reflect on that a little bit. If you want to check out another one of these videos that learn how to build like a better Commander deck, check out, this playlist right here. All the stuff you need. All the stuff you need. You'll find it. You'll find it. I think. I don't know. Oh, it is hot in here. It's good to see y'all again. My decks aren't all hot garbage.